You're probably looking at this title thinking that I am being absolutely hyperbolic, but I assure you, I am not being hyperbolic at all. This is the worst possible thing that could ever happen with Final Fantasy IX Remake, and theoretically with any game in existence. According to a very reliable industry leaker, there is a possibility that Final Fantasy IX Remake was canceled, and that is the reason that we are not seeing it for the 25th anniversary, and potentially that the merch and everything else that we're seeing is just rolling out anyways because the project has already been axed. This is something that I pray is absolutely not the case. It would be one of the most demoralizing things that could happen to the FF brand right now. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what was said. So Nate was asked about Final Fantasy IX Remake on Reset Era, and this is what he had to say. As of my last check, it remains in development to my knowledge, but I need to do a fresh check and see what a more current status is, as I did hear a month or so ago that it was in trouble and possibly canceled. I only had one source on the cancellation possibility and need to verify the info further. So the potentially good news here is that maybe it's just this one source that Nate had got this information from, and if you verifies it further, the game is not canceled. So whether it's canceled or not, I'm not 100% convinced yet. Apparently, neither is Nate, as he needs to verify this information with more sources in order to confirm it. However, what I do believe is that the project probably is in trouble. Remember, it was first revealed in the Nvidia leak in 2021. 4 years later, we've had all of these leaks about the game. We even know what some of the pre-order bonuses are going to be for Final Fantasy IX Remake. We've had multiple industry insiders say that they've actually seen it. This has by far been one of Square Enix's worst kept secrets. Everyone knows this thing is out there, and it's a large reason that so much of that 25th anniversary merch is rolling out. Again, if this game has been canceled, this is one of the most demoralizing things that could possibly happen to the Final Fantasy brand right now. We were already dealing with the sales outcomes of Final Fantasy XVI and Rebirth, so if Final Fantasy IX Remake is not coming, this is a really bad blow to the brand, to Square Enix, and something I absolutely hope is not the case. However, there are a few points of speculation that we have to bring up because they're so important for analyzing the potential of this happening or not. But first, a word from our sponsor, Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is an authorized code reseller that brings you games at a much cheaper price. These are games that you are going to buy anyway, so don't overpay for them. With Steam codes available for almost every title you can think of. And every month, they allow this channel to give away a free game of your choice. All you have to do is smack that orange participate button and you're entered to win. So be sure to check them out with a link in the description below. So ironically, I talked about this tweet in my very last video about Final Fantasy IX Remake, but again, it kind of makes sense a little bit with what we're seeing here if these two things are both true. Again, this does come from Ryan from the Bronx, aka Midori, which I know, a lot of the information that he did get was correct. So he says the developer for Final Fantasy IX Remake was originally Zine. The project moved in-house at Square Enix earlier this year for graphical refinement purposes, and the title looks similar to Memoria Project. Development is complete. The internal delay was not due to a Switch 2 version. So this is really interesting for a couple of reasons. The first is that this was not the first project, assuming that this is true, to be moved from an outsourced party back into Square Enix internally, with Square Enix wanting to raise the quality of the work that was done. In fact, it's not even the first Final Fantasy remake for this to happen to, allegedly. Final Fantasy VII Remake was being developed by CyberConnect 2, a game that was eventually moved back in-house in order to up the game's graphical quality, among many other things. Assuming that what they're saying is true, Final Fantasy IX Remake will have followed the exact same or very similar pattern from what we know as the first part of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, it moving back in-house would definitely complicate things, because it'd be under either Creative Studio 1, working on the Final Fantasy VII Re-Trilogy and Kingdom Hearts 4, Creative Studio 2, which includes Team Asano, the Nier guys, and Dragon Quest, or Creative Studio 3, which is Yoshi P's creative studio, the teams responsible behind things like Final Fantasy XIV, 16, and etc. I would imagine this is either under CS2 or CS3 if the game was canceled, and I say if in all caps, because again, I'm not 100% convinced this is the truth yet, but if we're operating under that assumption. One of the reasons that might have happened is that, let's just say they looked at it, they looked at all the projects that they were working on internally, Final Fantasy XVII, Dragon Quest 12, maybe a new Nier game, whatever, and they said, you know, in order for us to do these graphical refinement processes for Final Fantasy IX, fix up the build that we got from Zine, it's going to cost a lot of money, and ultimately that money is better off being spent on these brand new projects that are likely to make a much bigger impact than, say, another remake. No disrespect to Final Fantasy IX in saying that whatsoever, but it's just to say that maybe they are wanting to focus on the next big things. That's a possibility, not a certainty, because truthfully, we just don't know. I would like to think that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy XVI sales-wise have not been an impact on whatever is happening with Final Fantasy IX Remake. It's also really important to remember that Square Enix canceled a ton of games not too long ago. Just April last year, they canceled $140 million worth of games, with them saying that this was part of their strategy to be more selective and focused about their pipeline. I don't think that Final Fantasy IX Remake was one of those games, as I feel like we've seen some leaks about it happen between last year and this year that indicate that the project is still alive, or was still alive at that point. But it does show that they have been axing a ton of projects, and it's not impossible that later on they decided, yeah, this one's not worth it either. We don't know if that's what happened, but there is a precedent here set for the fact that they have been canceling a lot of games internally. And yeah, I know for some people it's like, lol, unannounced game got canceled. You know, truthfully, most games that get canceled are unannounced. Anything that could potentially get canceled even, they try to keep it from ever being announced, because it is such a major blow to morale, to the perception of the company, when you have to announce a game and then cancel it. If FF9R is canceled, that will be one of the most major morale blows to Square Enix excitement into belief in the Final Fantasy brand ever. I literally won't know what to do. If that ends up being the case, I wouldn't want to say that we're cooked, but we would kind of be deep fried. Let's just be honest. That kind of be like the worst possible scenario for the franchise's health, like, that we've ever seen. So I really do not want that to be the case. What I do think is possible, and to a large degree almost certain, is when Nate said that the game was in development trouble, that much I do believe. After all, there has to be some sort of trouble, otherwise they would have revealed it by now. They especially would have revealed it for the 25th anniversary. Kingdom Hearts 4 was absolutely nowhere near ready to be revealed when it was first showed off 4 years ago, but they did it anyway because they wanted to meet that 20th anniversary so bad. And with this game, where, you know, people have said the development is complete and they're trying to refine the graphics, why haven't they announced something? We even know this game's pre-order incentives, and yet we have not actually officially laid our eyes on it yet. Whether the game is canceled or not, we don't know for sure yet. Hopefully, you know, we can get some actual clarification on it as more sources come forward. But one thing remains absolutely clear: something is going on, I think, behind the scenes as for why we haven't seen it. I do believe that the original plan was for it to be revealed by now, and the fact that it hasn't, kind of curious. This is also kind of crazy with Memoria Project, like, quote tweeting Square Enix and saying, when are we going to tell them, Square? Okay, I'm like pretty sure that they're joking here. I don't think that the Memoria Project guys have actually been hired on to work on Final Fantasy IX Remake. Much less do I think that if they were, they would tag Square Enix on something like this and jeopardize that type of contract by going ahead and saying something like this. Because again, you know, if you are working on these types of projects and you just basically come out and say, hey, we're working on it, then that can get you into a lot of trouble. They're totally trolling here, I assume. But again, they haven't said anything further. My assumption is this is a joke from them, but only time will tell. By the way, I have slept since the last video. I've been sleeping. I'm good. I'm back in good health. You don't have to worry about me, I think. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you all in the next video. Later, guys.